So I finally got my computer back up and running after a few days of having a whole bunch of shit to purge off of it. And then once I deleted a bunch of stuff off of it, it took like 10,001 pictures right back to it that I had to re-delete. Yesterday and today I spent a lot of time deleting stuff off of my phone. And today when I hooked up the phone to the computer, it was only like 4,900 that went back to it. So still a whole freaking ordeal on trying to get that sorted out. I really need to just like put albums on my computer where I know where shit is, and then get it off of the phone, and then not have to worry about it. I have like a little backup hard drive thing that I have a bunch of stuff on, but I kind of stopped messing with it after a certain point, and I need to go back to that, I guess. But yeah, I posted a video from 2 days ago. I got it uploaded today, and then yesterday's, I don't know if I'm going to or not, because I'm kind of having this little deal where I like putting it up there the date that I did it, or at least within a few hours of that date. And so when I'm all jacked up and like on uploading the 8th on the 10th, it's kind of annoying. So then I still haven't watched the video from the 9th, so I don't know if I will do that or not, if I will put it up or not, because I don't want to just like watch a bunch of videos of me as exciting as I am. I try to rewatch them and see if there's anything I need to clarify or otherwise mention things I talked about in it or whatever. So yeah, it's like I feel like I gotta watch it at least once and figure out what I'm gonna call it. Yesterday has been a long time since I did a video while I was skating, and since today is Monday, I was not feeling like it today because there's a whole lot of people over here. A whole lot of school activities going on. Currently middle school band kids are loading up on school buses. So, and the parents' band trip. Ooh. It's like 6 o'clock. What are they doing? No. Don't care really. But yeah, just, I mean, so yesterday when I was skating, I got on this little track about talking about how I have the tendency to devaluate myself while I'm doing things, or to shut myself down. And I tripped. I didn't fall, but I tripped when I was skating, when I was talking about that. So it was kind of like, I feel like the universe likes to keep me humble sometimes, and that's usually like something that I've noticed is if I start start kind of devaluating myself or getting cocky, either way, I am equally as inclined to trip on a rock or a stray patch of grass or mud or whatever. Or there's like pieces of these busted traffic cones over by the practice football field, so that's not out of the ordinary either. But it's like anytime I start going too negative or getting cocky, then the universe is gonna like knock me on my ass if necessary. I had one day back when I first started skating that I was getting kind of cocky, and I was skating like really hard and really fast. just because I could, and I don't remember exactly what I was thinking at that moment, but I caught a rock and fell hard, and like my face was like 2 inches from the pavement or less. So I was very glad that I did not bust my face on the pavement, obviously, but also like my first inclination was to panic over the lip ring, because it's like, it was new at that, well, it was relatively new at that point. I had it within like 3 months, I think. But yeah, that was my first concern, not the lip ring. Yeah. So I was talking about devaluating myself and how, that's what it was. Okay. 555. I was talking about how I have this ongoing tendency, even with the YouTube stuff, to occasionally start with the wheels turning on, why am I doing this thing? And, like, thinking people are going to think like I'm just spoiled brat or crybaby or all this stuff. It's like, that's not for me to be concerned about. Like, what anybody else thinks as they come across my stuff, whatever. That's not for me to concern myself with, right? And I pulled some cards yesterday before I skated, but I didn't look up what they meant until after I until after I got back from my cousin's birthday party. But they were all like super relevant. It's from the Sacred Rebels Oracle. Sacred Rebel Oracle? Rebels. Right. By Alana Fairchild. And I know the first one was the Sacred Fool, and I don't remember the second one, what it says, but I know it's got trees and like a flower of life kind of thing. And then the third one was defend to the end the worthwhile. And then the last one was something about releasing the dark wound. And the last two were the ones that really stood out to me. And they're still on my desk because I'm going to summarize them in the journal. They were both kind of talking about that point of not letting yourself completely ruin the thing. Because, okay, one of the cards talked about a lot of projects get killed in the early stages because people, thought I knew her for a second. I don't think I do. Because people start to think that it's not worthwhile and they scrap it before it ever has the opportunity to become something. And so the point is, don't do that. And I don't know if it was the same card or the other card, but it was talking about how it's probably the same card. How it doesn't matter if the project you're working on is supposed to become something much bigger later, or if it's just a little side project for you, because even the little personal side projects that you do that nobody knows about are still worthwhile and need the chance to become whatever they're meant to be. So basically, stop going to self-sabotage, which I think that was the video that I posted earlier. Venting and self-sabotage gets... And then yesterday was kind of the devaluating myself. or invalidating or, whatever. Today, as I was skating, I was thinking a lot about those points as well. And I was thinking about, okay, I've talked about a lot about bullying and being bullied on here. When I was thinking through this stuff and, my tendency to invalidate myself or, devalue things and not give them the opportunity to become whatever they could be. And it's like, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the relationship that I have that I can't escape is with myself. And at the end of the day, I've had the inclination to be my own biggest bully. And yes, there have been a lot of bullies in my life, but if I'm already bullying myself, then why wouldn't I see more of that? Because the universe sees what you're doing and what you're thinking, how you're talking to yourself, and oh, you like that? So we'll give you more of that, right? So yeah, I think that kind of goes hand in hand. Yes, I dealt with a lot of bullies growing up in my lifetime. Various degrees of closeness. But also, at the end of the day, I've always been the hardest on myself. And partly because I saw, or I felt, like those around me didn't like me or care about me or whatever. So it's like, I think I did a lot of amplifying I have thought about that on here too. I am basically an energetic amplifier. And whatever is put out in the environment around me, I have the tendency to take it on and make it bigger because okay, I didn't know that I was taking on other people's energy. Well, I mean, I kind of knew. But it didn't really register until the basic training thing where the one girl had been assaulted, and before I even found out any of that, okay, that situation was me and one of the other older girls that went in. See, I was 28 when I went into basic training, and there was another girl. I don't remember which one went with me. Either the 30 or 32-year-old, because there was a group of us that were pretty close, but had a little bit of a gap age-wise. But two of us got asked to battle buddy this younger girl who was 17, and she was in the middle of her senior year of high school, and she was going back to finish high school after she finished basic training. And we got asked to battle buddy her because she had to go in front of the cadre to talk about something. And of course, the soldiers were not supposed to be around the cadre one-on-one. That's a no-go, right? So two of us went in with her, and like before the cadre even got there, it's like I just felt a whole lot of anger. But then as soon as the cadre walked in, it's like all at once it took everything I could muster to not drop to my knees and just like break down sobbing. And it's like, this is weird. What's going on here, right? And when she started talking, it came out that she had been assaulted by one of the drill sergeants. And he'd been acting weird recently, and so I think there were a few of us that were kind of like, wait, what's going on with this situation? But dude ended up getting demoted and getting detached from our group, obviously, and he was no longer a drill sergeant after that. But like beyond that setting, it's like I couldn't shake the anger. And I remember going through basic training feeling like I hated everyone, but then also I kept having that voice come back that was like, but I knew I was supposed to be here. So trying to make sense of, this massive feeling of loathing everybody around me and everything that was going on in the environment and whatnot. And then knowing I was supposed to be there. And I think that's the biggest purpose of my military experience, because I've talked a lot about how I kind of have mixed feelings on that whole thing anyway. But I think the biggest purpose of my military experience was to learn that I'm an empath and picking up other people's stuff. And when I got through basic training, it eased up. And of course, that girl went somewhere else. All of us that had been in that room went our separate ways, because I was a chaplain assistant. I don't remember what the other older battle buddy was. I don't remember their job, and I don't remember the youngest girl's job. Although I don't know if she went to AIT immediately afterwards or if she went back to school first. I feel like probably went back to school. But I know I went straight to AIT, and it was at the same, it was both basic and AIT were at Fort Jackson in South Carolina. And when I left, I was talking to my mom at home about that whole experience. And then I said, and now that I'm back, it's just gone. All that anger and the pent up rage. And like, I would go to chapel on Sundays. Do not get in my way. I was going to fucking chapel, all right? And I went to chapel, and I sat in the front with my group of friends and just cried the entire way through every single weekend. It's like, what on earth? And it's like, basic training is obviously a stressful time anyway, but then, it's just like, I had to be there, and the purpose of my being there was to cry everything out of my system. And when I got home, it's just gone. It's like, okay. And I remember telling my mom, it's like, I feel like I picked up somebody else's stuff, and now that I'm out of that environment, I was able to put it down and walk away from it. And I remember I stood up and was walking into the bathroom and was thinking, well, that sounds kind of mystical. So then that whole, started a whole thing too, because then it's like, well, what does that even mean if I have these mystical viewpoints? What does it mean to be a mystic? And that I wouldn't figure out until toward the end of my seminary career, so I was in basic training in 2011, got back home in January of 2012 from my AIT, and that was like the Friday before I left to come back home. We had our phones because, we were wrapping stuff up, and come to find out that my grandma, my dad's mom, had passed away. So, the first thing I did practically when we got home was have a funeral to go to, but at least my dress uniform fit at that point. The only time I've ever I think, worn the dress uniform aside from, was it Family Day? No, if it was, I don't know if it's Family Day or like the graduation. I think it was graduation. But it's like, yeah, so I wore it and then I chonked up and never fit again. I don't think it entirely fit. See, they don't let you have any of the good stuff in basic training. And our drill sergeants were especially rough with that, because when we first started, they had like a dessert with every dinner anyway. And at one point, I remember the drill sergeant, I always said, it seemed like a mean version of my brother. He was like, what's this shit all about? And then he made sure that we weren't able to have any of the good stuff anymore. So no more cake. And it's funny because I never had the cake. And the one time I wanted it was the time he said, no, we're not doing that. And got it gone. It's like, fuck. So, yeah. So then in AIT, since you go from not being able to have any of the things, then it's just like this, well, there's a whole lot of just blind consumption of eat all the good food. And we were able to go to the PX on weekends. I got really into Burger King and was not in near, okay, when I left basic training, I was in the best shape I've ever been in my life. And then after AIT, it was not there anymore. Yeah. So, and PT was a lot less strenuous, especially, okay, as a chaplain assistant, it was a little lax. But yeah, I don't even know why empath things, wondering, whatever, I don't know why I got here or how I got here, but here I am, so we'll just roll with it. It's something to do with the whole empath thing. I don't know. I was overly into the fact that I like crazy match today or coordinate. I kind of dig it. And, okay, well, I'll take them off. My shoes coordinate as well. I usually get a lot of comments about how my hair matches my shoes. But also today, since I was skating, these are my skates. They also match. They need some work. They're dirty. I was thinking earlier, like the wheels used to kind of, well, actually, I guess these ones never fully coordinated. I got 2 orange and 2, was it purple? I think it was purple. Wheels, and they each got, or I got 4 of each color and 2 wheels on each, so they matched. But it's time for the new wheels. My friend that I am no longer talking to, the former friend, she gave me some wheels before she blew up on me, and we got into it, and then we went our separate ways. So I've been hanging on to them. We got, okay, these wheels, let me see if I can find the chunk and not, okay, maybe this one, right there. I got a bunch of that action happening, so that obviously needs some work, and they didn't last near as well. I mean, I guess I skate a whole shit ton, but because I noticed that, and it kind of, like, I can pull on it and kind of pulls apart, and it's like, I feel like at some point that's going to give. I had mentioned that back in the fall when I was skating all the time, mentioned that to her, and she said she had a set of wheels that I could have. She said they weren't brand new, but they didn't have a whole lot of miles on them, because she found different ones that she liked better, but they were free wheels, so Can't go wrong with that. They are black, so they won't coordinate or anything, but that's all right. As long as they let me do what I need to do. Yeah. But yeah, those, I need to clean them up. But the wheel switch out process, because she didn't have bearings for them, so I have to switch the bearings from these and put those in those. That'll give me the opportunity to make me clean the bearings and then put the new wheels on them. But I don't know if I'm ready to do that just yet, or if I want to give it a little more time, make sure nobody's gonna put any more salt down or anything, because I figured that would be hard on the newer wheels. Yeah, I mean, it's still not a problem. I can still skate over the salt, and those look to be in pretty good shape, but just in case. Yeah. So I was talking the other day about how I have those two canvases. I got these two really big canvases that are like 3 foot by 1.5 foot each. And I got 2 of them. It's a 2-pack. And I decided to hang them together and then paint them. And how I originally painted them, I had a tree on it because it was just, I was trying to navigate through the process of painting a tree. Like branches and all that stuff, and then putting the leaves and all that fun stuff on there. So before I did my tree on my wall in my now bedroom, I had the tree on this canvas. It's like, ooh, I like how that turned out, which is kind of why I decided I wanted to put it on the wall to begin with. But I had these canvases, and I like the background on it just because I don't like a white background, and I didn't know what else to do at that point in time. And I put it like magenta and black, and then it was like, oh, I should put a tree on this. And so I did, but then there's still the magenta and black. And then I put it like a quote over the top of it. It's I know it's from the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, I think. Something about, do you have the courage? Something about writing and sharing the stories within you. I'll figure out what it is. When I go home and it's on the canvases, I can just put it in the description of the information. Yeah. But I finally hung those up today. I found more of the little sticky things I needed to hang them on the wall. And I talked about how, since I kind of feel like painting my now office, since it's just plain purple, I decided that I would just put the canvas behind my desk, and then maybe sometime I'll do a video in there and have the canvas as the backdrop. I don't know, the lighting in there kind of sucks, although I can tweak that. Yeah. But now I changed the direction on it, so now it's like the tree is sideways for the time being. I don't know when I'll get to painting it. I was thinking earlier today, it's like I'm really kind of frustrated that I haven't made more progress on this whole unpacking things back into the desk and into the bedroom and like organizing. But then I was like, I literally just unloaded an entire box, and yeah, some of it went on my desk for next time I get to it. The little cabinets on the hutch, I put stuff in those. So it's like, I'm not being unproductive. It just feels like it's taking more time than it should because I'm still doing other stuff. And last night I had some fun. Not really. Last night it was like 11 o'clock. I realized I hadn't done my notes for my time with Gracie last week, and if I want a paycheck, I got to do the notes. So I got on my computer and was going to do that, and my links were gone. It's like, no. And I cannot remember for the life of me what the link was to get to the site I needed to go to do the notes. It was so aggravating. I was like, I tried a bunch of different things. It's like, I know it's some kind of combination of this, and was not having any luck. So I went into my email and was trying to see if maybe it was in there somewhere, but I think I got that information through a text message from the girl that I report to. The current one is the third one. So the one I hired in under hasn't been there in a long time, and I deleted that conversation a long time ago because she's not been there, and then the second one left, and then, same thing. But I ever since I started doing notes regularly, I didn't need it. So, because I remembered it at very least, but then also the link was saved on my webpage. And I know my browser has updated recently, and there was all sorts of other stuff that was like, I realized when I went to do the notes, the link wasn't there anymore. And initially I thought it was something with the browser having updated, which it did. But then I realized that when I was trying to delete a bunch of stuff off of my computer, I started with like the cookies and stuff from other sites that I've been on, and I think that scrapped them. It's like, fuck. So I had to message the girl last night and say, hey, I don't remember what the website was to do this notes. So she sent it to me today, and I was like, oh, I missed one freaking letter, and I would have had it. But so when I was in my email, it all at once dawned on me. It's like, oh shit, I have a CPR class. And last night it was tomorrow, because that was first thing this morning. I was like, oh fuck. So 11 o'clock last night, it finally sets in that I still have this thing that I have to do, and like I'm at the point of it was getting ready to expire, and if it had expired before I got it renewed, then I wouldn't be able to do notes or anything or get paid for anything until I was able to do that. So that was kind of aggravating. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, I need to message that girl again and see if, I'm pretty sure it counts as, billable but not billable. It's not time with the kid or anything, obviously, but it is time with the company, so for training, and I know I get paid for training for the other thing, so I'm pretty confident they're going to reimburse me for my 3 hours. But yeah, if I remember to talk to her about it, which she'll probably remind me anyway. She reminded me on Friday, and I still managed to forget. It's like, damn it. And I was just sitting in there this morning, and first off, the place that it was at, it was like, I forgot, like, the office is no longer there. I think everything's running out of, like, people are doing things from their houses rather than having an office space to go to, because there wasn't a whole lot of people going to the office space, so why have it? And so we went to this weird space that it was like Fraternal Order of Police or something, kind of a building. I was like, I was like 3 minutes late, and I called her, and I was like, I said, is this where I want to be? And I asked her about, because I didn't know if it was like the FOP on one side and the place I was going on the other, or if it was that space, because there were like 2 doors. One of them looked more like an entryway, but then it's like I couldn't really think of why it was at that kind of place, but I mean, it makes sense now that in hindsight. But I was like at 9 o'clock this morning. It's like, am I at where I'm supposed to be? Because I would like to know that I'm at where I'm supposed to be, but I'm also not entirely convinced. And it was. And she sent me a message at 8 o'clock this morning with the link. So I had gotten the notes done beforehand, so everything was working out just fine. But yeah, I was sitting through the CPR class this time around. It's like, I don't know how many CPR classes I've had in my time, because I know I had one in high school. I took like some sort of babysitting course. And then that was a requirement for it. And then I worked in healthcare for shy of a decade, but there's a whole lot of CPR classes in that time. And that's the nice thing about the training, though. It's like I don't really have to pay attention to the slide presentations, because I did it so many times with the other company that it's worded differently, but I still get it pretty easily. So yeah, I still got to click through the presentation, and every now and then I'll mess myself up on something, but yeah, but I was sitting there this morning and thinking about this whole thing, and it's like, I think I will be perfectly ready to not have to have that as a requirement anymore for work. I mean, I don't think that's ever a bad thing to have, but at the same time, just the requirement every X amount of time. And I like the guy that was doing the class, and he did it the last time, but there's kind of this weird little moment. He kept talking about dogs and fishing, and most of the class there were like 9 of us in there, 9 or 10, and I think one person was just there with their spouse and wasn't actually there to get certified, although they might as well have, since they were there. But yeah, he kept talking about dogs, and at one point, this girl that I went to school with, I think she was a year behind me or 2 years behind me, I think a year, she was there, and we were never friends, and it's kind of awkward because I didn't even notice until we were signing in, because he started a sign-in sheet at the table I ended up at, but since I was the last one in, they were getting ready to hand it to the next table, then realized I hadn't signed it yet and sent it to me. And I realized then when I looked at it that that I'd gone to school with her. And she's one that pops up every now and then, that we're not going to be friends or anything now still, but I don't know. It was just kind of I think every now and then the universe kind of just likes to throw out people that I remember to some capacity and see. It's usually to teach me something. And that one was kind of a weird thing, because usually, okay, if people are talking about stuff and somebody's saying something that sounds pretty not right, if I'm not a part of the conversation, then I usually don't go out of my way to insert myself in a conversation I'm not a part of. But there was something with cats that came up. It's like, okay. And she kept talking about the kind of cat she had, and she kept calling it, or saying, Mancoon. And at one point, the teacher, he just kind of was engaging with everybody, and he'd pull everybody into the kind of that kind of conversation. He's like, now what? Because he'd never heard of this kind of cat. And he just was like, he made a big deal about he's dog people, and he was joking and everything, but it was just kind of a thing. And she was talking about these Mancoon cats that she got from Russia and blah blah blah, and it's like they're really expensive and they're the size of a dog, and like a lot of the information she was saying, I was thinking she was probably meaning a Maine Coon cat, but she kept saying it Mancoon and then said it was from Russia, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna leave that alone, because I mean, I've had cats, but I don't know a huge amount about different breeds and whatnot. I mean, I did have a Manx in middle school and high school. Little tailless wonder named Tigger. I loved that cat. If I wouldn't have got the other one, I probably would have had that cat until the end. But then I got to a point where it's kind of got burnout, and started dating a guy that didn't like cats and made a big deal about, well, I'll never have cats, and that was enough to be stupid. Although when I did rehome those two cats, see, where it went awry was Sassy, and she was a real sweet cat, but she was one that we think she was never properly weaned, because I would wake up with huge wet spots all over my shirt because she just started sucking on it. It's like cat spit. So that was a pet peeve, and it did get to a point with when I started dating that dude that, you know, it's like, you know what, maybe somebody else will appreciate that. And I did give them a heads up that this was a thing that she did, and they said it was no problem because they had one that had done that before. It's like, I can't imagine wanting another one that had that issue, but okay. But yeah, if it was just Tigger, I probably would have had Tigger the whole time. But then it was only because I rehomed them that I ended up with Doogie, and Doogie was meant to be mine for a time too. So everything for a reason, and one of those reasons was to learn to always pick the cat, or always pick the pet over the person. If you're dating somebody and they don't like your pet, keep the pet, lose the person. You're probably, I mean, yeah, better option. But there was shit I had to learn, including that lesson. Now, the last situation, because Aphrodite did stay with my ex, and I hated having to do that. I loved that cat so much. She was a dilute tortoiseshell, and she had really pretty blue eyes, and she was like super sweet, and she and Ziva loved each other. And you know, we got Ziva as a puppy, and the cat was like, I think she was like 2 to 3 years old when he adopted her before we got married. And that cat was awesome. I have videos on Facebook and that pop up in my memories every now and then where Ziva was like standing behind me when I was, I think, doing laundry or something, and she was wagging her tail because she was all excited to be with me, and the cat kept swatting at her. And then it became like a big game with them, and then they'd go back and forth all the time. And I think Ziva did, there were a couple times when we first moved to Alabama, the cat stayed with my former in-laws, and we went to Alabama with Ziva and did not have the cat with us. And it bothered her a lot. And, you know, when she was in the apartment by herself, that first night, or it might have been the first night. I think we moved in on the 4th of July, maybe, or we're working on it. And then on the 4th of July, went to see fireworks on the beach and left Ziva in the apartment, and she escaped her box and tore up all the blinds. Not entirely, like they were still functional while we were there, and we weren't going to have them replaced while we were there because we didn't want her tearing up more. But yeah, that was the whole thing. And we got a call from the landlords or from management, that she was acting up when we were on the way back, and it's like, we're almost there. Crap. But then we saw the damage she did, and it's like, once we got the cat there, she was immensely better. And of course, I think that was the big thing, because like she'd always, when we got her, I was always taking her over to my parents' house, and because they had 4 dogs, and I was very attached to all 4 of those dogs, and they made housebreaking her so easy. That's the easiest dog I've ever had to housebreak, because immediately upon getting her, like, I started taking her over to my parents' house, and they had a dog door, and so they all, like, she learned the dog door real quick, and then realized that's where you go to do your stuff. And then, like, I think I had a handful of messes from her, and usually it was because my ex was ignoring her, and because there was this set of like Christmas bells that he had on the front door at his apartment, and when we moved into a rental house, I was like, well, the back door seems like a good place, because that's the door we were going in and out of all the time. It was by the carport and all that fun stuff. So she figured out those bells were there, and she started jingling them anytime she had to go. So it's like she figured that out. And it's like, hey, this works really well. But he would never pay attention to her when she was jingling. And me, on the other hand, it's like, where's the puppy? Puppies go silent, there's a problem. Don't let puppies and little children go silent. Yeah. So, yeah, she was fabulous. But that cat, when I moved back up here to get the divorce, I had 3 dogs and, like, I want to say 9 birds. And we moved into 1 bedroom. And I had, like, there was stuff pushed all the way up against the wall, and then there was, like, the bird cage in front of the chest of drawers and that kind of stuff. And, like, there's layers coming in at me. And eventually my mom was like, if you clean your brother's room, you can have that space too. It's like, ooh. Expansion. So I did get to do that, and that helped immensely. And now, especially since I've thinned out so much of what I did have, I had 4 reptiles when I moved back, and they've all gone since, well, like the last one died back in like November or December. And then the birds have been dying off, and I have not been replacing them. I did get, when I moved back up here, the problem was the budgies. I never should have got budgies. If I would have known about the Bork parakeets, I never would have had budgies, and I probably still like birds way more than, I still really enjoy them, but not quite as much as I was there for a while. Because used to, like, I would spend a few hours a week with them flying out loose with me. And, eventually I got a mate for the Bork and a mate for the cockatiel. And then let myself get talked into letting each of them keep a clutch of babies. Then I kept 2 of the Bork babies, and then kept 2 of the cockatiel babies. There were 4 of those, and there were 2 of the others. And eventually one of the Bork babies died. And my aunt, my dad's oldest sister, which she's second in line, he's the oldest, so she was going on about how pretty they were at one point, and if I ever wanted to rehome any of them, let her know, because she would love to have one. And she'd had birds before in her lifetime, so and in my lifetime. So last year, I think, I asked her if she wanted the other baby Bork, and she did. And I think she spent quite a bit of time working with it. I think she might have even tamed it to some extent. I haven't talked to her in a while. But yeah, And then the 2 cockatiels, I shouldn't have kept the babies. But one was born on 2/22/22, and it's like, well, that feels like it's meant to be with me. And Gidget was born on 2/22/17, but that's good enough. I got to a point with the baby cockatiels. Buddha was kind of getting aggressive toward his mate because of one of the babies, and kept trying to mate with the one baby and didn't like the other one. It's like, there's a whole lot going on here, and I think it would probably just be best to send them elsewhere. And I found that a lady off a Facebook bird group that had I don't know if I think she had 1 or 2. I wanted to say she had 2 boys and had a female that had recently died. So she ended up finding my post and got all excited and wanted them. She came and got them from here, so it's like, yes. It has been much more peaceful since they have been rehomed. And then, of course, the original, or his mate, died back in the fall. And then the other one's mate, which was the original Bork that I had, he died, I think, about a month after the other one did. So now I'm down to 2 in a smaller cage. And it's much better. But I do need to spend some time letting them fly loose. They've never been loose in that room. I still have some work to do to get the room ready for that, I think, but eventually it'll happen. Yeah. I don't think I really had any kind of purpose with today's video, but when I was skating and I realized the bullying thing and how I tend to do that with myself more than anything else, I realized I think that's a big part of like this whole Venus retrograde thing, and like all the timing, the way things are lining up, because like one of the things I've seen for like the Venus retrograde is a reevaluation of relationships, and how what you want from relationships, what you won't tolerate in relationships, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, bullying myself needs to quit. And obviously that's one that takes some effort. When I first moved back early on, I remember thinking, like, okay, the Sunday night thing over at my grandparents' house. My grandma would go in the kitchen and she'd just be in there talking. She'd say, "What'd you do that for, dummy? That was stupid." And just like saying all that kind of shit to herself. And it's like, if we go back to that point of how I'm basically an amplifier, and I was around people bullying themselves all the time, why wouldn't I also do that? Why wouldn't that become this big, huge problem that I've had to work through in my lifetime? It makes sense. So with the retrograde, I'm realizing that needs to stop, because I don't want to attract more of those kinds of relationships and those toxic behaviors. And a big way to prevent getting into any more situations where that was allowable was not doing it myself. And so it goes back to realizing that it's like, I literally cannot worry about what anybody else is thinking of whatever I say or do on here. This is my thing anyway, right? My vlog. If you don't like it, go away. Otherwise, I don't know. Hopefully there's something about me that brings people in, my people, and helps them find me in the right time. The girl in the dream said that it would take a little while to build momentum, but that it would in time. So, and I've mentioned some theories on that, but also, yeah, yeah, I just gotta stop trying to talk myself out of doing the thing. It's like things, like the difficulty with not being able to get stuff uploaded on my computer, and then realizing I needed to purge a bunch of shit there, and then, of course, because that slowed me down on making progress with getting stuff uploaded to YouTube, then it was like, then I felt that waver, I think, a bit more, and then it's like, what are we doing here? And why? And are you always just going to bitch about things or like cry otherwise? And yeah, probably. But a big part of the amplification thing is, I think, okay, like the girl in basic training. I don't think she was releasing any of it. So I feel like since I pick it up from the environment, it kind of grates in my system unless I release it, right? So it's like sitting there. So me going to chapel on Sundays and crying my way through the whole thing, I mean, it didn't make her experience less by any means, but I feel like part of what I'm here to do is witness the feelings that other people who aren't willing to allow themselves to feel the feelings aren't releasing. So people still got to do their own work, but if I can alleviate some of that for the collective system, then that's still, I think, an important job. And yes, I very much believe that that is a big part of what I'm here to do. So I mean, that's one of those things. It's like, okay, but how do you tell people that's what you do? And it doesn't pay anything. So, just cool. I'm collecting shit from the environment that I'm going to have to release from my own system. Awesome. Now how do I do that? Okay. And sometimes it's crying, and sometimes it's skating. And I'm so happy today is back in the 60s. For some reason, this car stopped having, like when I turned it on last, it did not have the temperature on it. And I don't know why, because it did earlier. So I don't know if something burned out or if I clicked on something I shouldn't have, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. I don't know. But that was annoying. I've skated a bunch in the past few days. See, yesterday I got 11 miles in. Because yesterday I was frustrated with some shit that if I don't post my other video, I guess the spiel then was I got really aggravated because I knew my cousin's birthday party was over at my aunt's house last night. But I was going to skate probably 5 miles or so and then go home and take a shower and get ready to go. While I was skating, my mom sends me a message asking if I'm home. And I said, no, I'm skating. And then I said, why? I don't need to know why. Just don't do that anymore. And she said she was going to have me make the sliders. And I got really pissed. This is part of where the thing went downhill. I got really pissed because I loathe these damn sliders. Not because they're bad, but because she was able to talk me into making them once or twice, and then she just made it it became this thing where, because I had made them previously, she would get all the ingredients, not talk to me ahead of time, not see if anybody else wanted them or anything, and then just show up and say, oh, would you make these again for me? It's so it became this thing where it kind of started. It was a means of manipulating my energy and becoming a thing that I would just cook that day. And it's wait a second. It's I don't care if it's something that we've talked about and agreed I would help out with in advance. It's when you show up with the stuff and then just drop it on me like it's just, oh, you not thought about this before, when we both know you thought about it before. And, you know, there was one time it came up when I was supposed to make them for the entire family, like her side, like her, me, her, and my dad, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, and at least one of my cousins. I don't remember if any of the others were around at that point, but she got all the stuff and she said, oh, well, me and Beth thought we would have sliders. And then we got there and it was, here, make these. And it's like, no, that goes back to the, you're just trying to hijack my energy, and I'm not going to do that anymore because that's not helpful. You know, and it's because it's literally a hijacking of energy. It's not talking about it ahead of time and, oh, would you mind doing this sometime? It's, I got all this stuff, now you can make it. No. I don't even like them that well. And let alone enough to have them several times in a couple months span of time because, hey, you made them, great. No. You know, that goes back to that the other day where I had, when she kind of dropped it on me that I was supposed to drop everything. That's where it came in. Because I'm supposed to drop everything to do the thing for the family. And it's like, no, nope, that don't sit right. You know, and it, like that was the deal with the cleaning up shit over at my grandma's house. And I'm going to get donuts and Beth's going to get beverages and then everybody's going to be there and we're going to be cleaning and getting stuff ready to get the carpet and the paint. And the voice that popped into my head said, no is a complete sentence. And it's like, yeah, because I wasn't feeling it. And then I was like really aggravated because of that point that it's like, it's not asking me if I would do it. It's assuming that because it's needed, I'm just going to yield and drop everything and do it. And that's because a long time I did. And, you know, like that thing I read from that Synchronistic page the other day that talked about how the quickest way to, oh, well, let me just read it because I have the notebook here. I think I might have read it yesterday. Okay. There was one day that I think I deleted 2 videos, but I know I talked about it in one of those, but I don't know if I talked about it in yesterday's video or the day before. But anyway, it's a Synchronistic page on Instagram. It says, overplaying your role doesn't make people appreciate you more. It makes them value your time and energy less. People pleasing is a race to the bottom. People will appreciate you for giving them a drop of water, but take you for granted for giving them the entire ocean. It's like, that is the big thing right there with my whole energy and like my whole lifetime. It's like, because I was yielding to everybody all the time and they don't value my time and energy. They just assume that I'm going to do it because used to I did. And so I got really pissed when the deal came up that time because it was like, you didn't ask. But then when I was thinking about it, I was like, but if I said I'm not doing this or I didn't do this because you didn't ask, then the next time it would be posed as, well, will you or can you? And then, you know, regardless of the response, then it's like back to the exact same position of, yeah, they asked, but it was just to appease me. Now do what I'm expected to do, right? And it's like, no, we're not doing that no more. You know, and then that was the day that I saw the eagle in the field and got pictures of it. So, yeah, you know, and it came back up last week. Saturday was another day that they were working over at my grandma's house, and my mom said, I think like Tuesday, I talked my brother into helping me with moving my desk. And then my mom, after he leaves, says, I would appreciate it if you would pencil me in to help over at grandma's house this weekend. It's like, even that, it's like, you're not actually asking me. You are trying to appease me to make me do what you feel like I'm supposed to do. It's like, nah, that kind of bullshit I'm done with. So I didn't do it then either. But then this deal with the sandwiches came up the other day. And it's like, fuck this shit. Stop doing this to me. Stop just assuming that I'm just going to step up and do whatever you want me to just because you want me to do it. It's like, it's been my whole life of yielding and going along with everybody's bullshit. And now I'm trying to push back. And it's annoying to watch because that little bit where I went to the store with her a couple nights ago when we went to Walmart, that was enough where she started. Nordic Light Tarot had this one video, or this one tarot reading that I watched at one point, and she was talking about how it's like there's somebody around you looking for a way in so it can get its hooks back in you. It's like, that's my mom. And my dad. They keep trying to engage with me and to bring me back into their bullshit so I can do what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like, no, I'm getting mouthier about shit. Okay. I sent a picture to my brother of this. It's like, why is this easier? Because yesterday, when I got home from skating, I think, there was a used coffee pod on the stove 2 feet away from the trash can. And it's just on the stove. It's like, this is getting old, dudes. It is getting really old. My mom's getting really bad about leaving her grape trash everywhere. And it's like, because she eats like, I don't know. The last time we went to the store, I think we got like 10 pounds of grapes. And she'll probably go back for more sometime soon because she's literally addicted to them at the moment. But it's like, she'll wash up a couple bags of them and put them in the container and then leave the bags on the counter. Or yesterday, I think she had this like little Easter puff snack thing or something and didn't throw the trash away, and somehow it ended up on the floor, and Pepper had it stuck in her hair on her butt. It's like, I was like, why do you have plastic on your butt? And then I'm pretty sure it was that. And it's like, it's just all this stupid shit. And it's like, they're literally trying to make me clean up after them. But then if I yield to any of it, then it's going to become my task, and they're going to assume that I'm just going to do all the shit for them that I'm supposed to be doing because I'm their daughter, and they're getting old. My dad's going to be 73 this year, I think, and my mom, she just turned 64. Yeah. It's like, they're at that age where they were taking care, or I'm at that age where they started taking care of their older parents and doing all the things because codependency, and that's what they were supposed to do. So now I'm supposed to do these things, so they're just not doing them. It's like, nope, you are entirely capable. And like the freaking fork in the refrigerator, and I wondered where that went. It's like, well, obviously not that bad enough if you didn't go back and look for it, if you knew you had one and then it just disappeared. No retracing of the steps or anything, it'll show up, right? But the trash will, like on the stove or on the table, God, we don't often have room for 3 people to sit at the table, even though it technically sits like 8 because there's so much shit on it. And there's one day my dad made a smart-ass remark about my mom taking over the table, and she went off on him and was like, well, do something about it then. You can help too. It's not all my stuff, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, And I just stayed right out of it. And at one point, I think my dad tried to pull me into it, and my mom's like, oh no, you were the one that said it. So, and it just kind of stayed between them. I was just like, nope, not touching that one. That'll be interesting to see what happens whenever I do finally escape, and hopefully escaping is sooner than later, because I'm ready, dudes. I'm so ready to get out of that situation. I'm so ready to not have to clean up other people's shit like this. And you can be damn sure I'm not going to end up in another relationship where with an overgrown man-child that never had to clean up after himself. Fuck that noise. That was one of my biggest pet peeves with my ex-husband, was he had this... Okay. He would randomly spit on the carpet. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Who spits on the carpet? It's like, it's a whole nother thing right there, but not my problem. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm out of that situation. So moving on from there, this situation, however, I just gotta keep not getting roped into it. And that is a pain in the ass, because they're literally looking for any opportunity to rope me back into something. It's like, nope. Not doing that. Nope. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up so I can go home and take a shower and find something to eat. And yeah. At least I am pretty confident I'll get it loaded on the computer today. So yeah. Hey, 111. What a fine time to end, right? So as always, I appreciate you. And until the next time, see ya.